First Amendment Auditors Revisited. What a crazy week for First Amendment auditors. Furry Potato got shot by a security guard. News Now Houston, Earl Warden, was arrested on charges of sexual assault of a child. Auditor Hate the State claims harassment by a police officer. And a police officer threatened to arrest a 12-year-old reporter whose skills frankly put all of these auditors to shame. My name is Patrick Nolan. I'm an attorney licensed in the state of Missouri. This is Pat Talks Law. Furry Potato is a transgender First Amendment auditor who is perceived either as a tower of virtue or an antagonistic troublemaker, depending upon where you fall on the spectrum of either hating authority or assholes, or loving confrontation, or just being left alone. In my last video on Furry Potato, I was roundly criticized for reporting on the incomplete information that was available shortly after the shooting. Despite my saying repeatedly that there was no way that shooting was justified and Furry should get an attorney and commence the civil process, I was attacked repeatedly for withholding comment on facts that were not yet known. I was additionally attacked for acknowledging that auditors have a responsibility to ensure their own safety, their own protection. Apparently, self-preservation is not a concern for auditor supporters. Look, if you are conducting an audit and the person with whom you are interacting is acting unbalanced or threatening, you need to seek a way to extract yourself from that situation. This isn't rocket science. This isn't being anti-auditor. It's not being pro-auditor. Situational awareness will keep you from being killed. You know, it reminds me of the old saying and the old poem, here lies the body of Henry Gray. He died defending his right of way. His way was right, his will was strong, but he's just as dead as if he was wrong. Be smart, be safe. You can prove your point without risking your life. News Now Houston, Earl Warden. He was charged and arrested with sexual assault of a child. The allegations against Mr. Warden date back to 2002. New evidence was obtained by Deer Park Police that led to the charge against a man who is known for making YouTube videos criticizing the police. News Now supporters are questioning the existence and the veracity of this potential new evidence that comes up now, after Mr. Warden has spent so much time criticizing the police lately, and even after the head of the police union in Houston threatened to take unconstitutional retaliation against critics.
And if you're the ones that are out there spreading the rhetoric that police officers are the enemy, well, just know we've all got your number now. We're going to be keeping track of all of y'all, and we're going to make sure that we hold you accountable every time you stir the pot on our police officers. We've had enough, folks.
This occurred after Houston police officers killed 2 residents in a botched raid that also resulted in several officers being wounded. And there's currently a criminal investigation of one of the officers for falsifying information. Now, I would hope that there's no connection between Gimaldi's comments and the sudden discovery of evidence against Mr. Warden. But I can also see how Warden supporters would question the timing. Look, let's be very clear here for a moment. News Now Houston, Earl Warden, like every other American charged with a crime, deserves the best defense he can get. The charges are serious, and the state must be held to its burden. I am a criminal defense attorney. It is silly to pretend that there are no outside political pressures that will affect this case. And Mr. Warden's attorney will use some of that to challenge the evidence and manage his case. News Now Houston is innocent until proven guilty. The fact that he is a registered sex offender has no bearing on the facts of these charges or on his videos. It does, however, explain why some police officers may take a less charitable or less understanding view when they're dealing with him. I hope the truth comes out in the end, however that falls. Would-be auditor activist Hate the State is now claiming harassment by a police officer because the officer escorted him around the county campus. Hate the State used to run a YouTube channel titled So They Call It Freedom. That channel was taken down and terminated by YouTube after many complaints regarding his harassment of a janitor. And that harassment went so far the janitor was in tears on camera and even attempted to quit his job. This auditor taunts people and harasses them under the guise of the First Amendment, which does not allow for criminal behavior to be excused merely because the person is carrying a camera. In the Hate the State video, the officer only engages Hate the State when the auditor talks to the officer, except for one occasion, when the auditor makes like he's going to enter an office in the county building and film. At that point, the officer says, if you record in there, you're going to be trespassed. And the auditor, who has learned his lesson, turned around, walked somewhere else, and walked back in another room. Look, here's the deal. Hate the State is not an auditor. He's an activist. He's a protester, a rebel-rouser. Not somebody to aspire to. Now, finishing up with a shining star. 12-year-old Hildy Lysek is the publisher and editor of the Orange Street News. She was threatened by a local police officer who was apparently unhappy with the idea of a 12-year-old reporting news. In the video showing part of that exchange, Lysek can be heard being threatened with arrest by Joseph Patterson. He's the marshal for the Arizona town of Patagonia. Now, Patagonia is where the 12-year-old from Pennsylvania had gone to do research for a news story. Refusing to be intimidated, Lysek continuously asked on what grounds the marshal was planning to arrest her and throw her into juvenile detention. That's kiddie prison for the people who don't know.
You stopped me earlier and you said that I could be thrown in juvie. What exactly am I doing that's illegal?
So, when I left the office, you were over there talking and you quickly... You taping me? You can tape me.
Okay.
Okay?
Alright.
But what I'm going to tell you is if you put my face on the internet, it's against the law in
Okay,
Arizona. Okay? So I'm not giving you permission to use my picture or my face on the internet. You understand all that?
I understand that.
Okay. So when you saw us leave, you quickly left the boy that you were with, and you followed us down to 320 Roadrunner.
Mm-hmm.
And when we came back out, because we had to go somewhere else for an urgent call,
Okay.
you followed me again.
Yeah, and how's
Okay?
that illegal?
So don't follow law enforcement, because you already came in and told me you were a reporter,
Yeah, and
and I don't want you to get hurt.
I
I'm
understand.
looking out for your safety.
Okay.
Okay? The area you were in is where we're dealing with the mountain lion.
The mountain lion.
Yeah.
Okay. And
Okay?
all right, but what exactly? I understand that you're concerned about the safety. But what
So
exactly am
I
I
gave you a direct
doing?
order. I gave you a lawful order, and if you disobey a law enforcement officer, you can lie to your mother, you can lie to your father, you can lie to your priest. You can't lie to a law enforcement officer. You understand that? So actually lying to me and saying you were going to your friend's house wasn't acceptable.
No, I
And
didn't
you
say
actually
it.
lied.
My friend lives right there.
Okay, I don't
In
care
fact,
your
if
friend
you want,
lives
you
there.
can knock on her
But
door
when
and
you
ask
saw
her.
us leave, you turned around and you didn't even make it to your friend's house. You were seeing where we were going.
Yeah, I wasn't going to
All
my
right? Well, thank you very much. You have a great day. I'll be getting a hold of your parents.
Okay.
Thank you.
Lysek made reference to the other people in the area who were not being kicked off of the road. And ironically, she's also the person who broke the story about the mountain lion being in the area in the first place. Now, since that incident, the town's authorities have reportedly taken disciplinary action against Patterson, who had previous issues with his attitude towards journalists and ordering people not to film him. Their statement reads, "The town of Patagonia has received many comments concerning Marshal Patterson's interaction with a young reporter from the Orange Street News. The matter has been carefully reviewed, and we have taken action we believe to be appropriate for the situation. We do not publicly disclose personnel actions, including discipline, and will have no further comment on this matter. I love this kid. You should check out her website. Her website is orangestreetnews.com. This kid's going to win a Pulitzer one day. And if I still own the newspaper, man. Look, she's an example of how to do it right. If you want to do an audit, take the time to learn the laws. You know, I'm going to do another video soon on how to do an audit correctly and safely in the future, so that you can gather the information you need to produce some body of work that can show that police are in fact, or a municipal government or county government is in fact violating the First Amendment. They are violating people's rights to record or right to film, freedom to film. We'll get the right catchword in here. But if it's not done correctly, the information you gather is not going to be any good. Now, there are a lot of auditors who are only out there to make their own name. They just want to be seen confronting the people they then put up a video and call tyrants. The way to handle it, quite frankly, is to build your body of evidence and then sue their ass off. But you have to build your evidence first. The auditors are attempting to skip the evidence collection, jump to a confrontation and a lawsuit. Sadly, there's a reason most of them lose, and most of them wind up pleading guilty to a lesser offense. The First Amendment should be protected. The First Amendment should be defended, but it should also be done right. The First Amendment should be protected. It should be defended, but it should also be done right. Please like, subscribe, hit the alert button so you'll know when we post our next video, and check back in a couple weeks for an updated video on how to audit correctly and safely so that you can produce a body of work that can be used to help actually affect change rather than rabble-rouse and promote confrontation. Thank you.